Hello, my dear students of class 10. This is the second part of chapter 17, which is Indian agriculture. In the previous video, we have discussed about the first most important beverage crop, that is tea. And in this video, we are going to discuss about the second most important beverage crop of India, that is coffee. So here we also going to describe about the climatic condition, soil requirement, method of cultivation, processing and distribution of coffee. So now students, let's begin. Coffee is the second most important beverage crop of India. So here we see that it is the second most important. So first is the tea and second is the coffee. So in the previous video we know that the beverage means a liquid to consume excluding water. So except water, all the liquids that are consumed is known as beverage. The coffee plant is native to Abyssinia highland in Ethiopia, Africa. So here we see that it is the native plant, which means that it firstly grown in the Abyssinia highland in Ethiopia, which is in the continent of Africa. It was taken to Arabia in the 11th century. Arabia thus became the home of aromatic mocha coffee. So here it is a type of coffee which is famous in Arabia, and in Arabia the coffee is taken in the 11th century. Now in 17th century, a Muslim fakir Baba Budan Sahib brought the seed of coffee to India. So who introduced coffee to India is Baba Budan Sahib, and he is a Muslim fakir and raised them in the Baba Budam hill of Karnataka. So here we see that after the name of Baba Budan Sahib, that hill is named as Baba Budan hill of Karnataka, and here in 17th century he first brought the seed of coffee. Britishers developed the first successful coffee plantation in Karnataka in 1830. So in 1830 the first successful coffee plantation occurred, and at present there are more than 50,000 coffee plantation in India. Now the coffee board was set up by the government of India in 1957. So here we see that as the production of a coffee increased, a coffee board was set up. And what is the function of coffee board? Coffee board looks after the growth and development of the coffee industries in India. So what here we can see that the coffee board looks after the growth and development, and the coffee is very popular beverage in South Indian states such as Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu. So from this we can know that coffee is mainly consumed in the South Indian part. Now we are going to discuss about the type of coffee that are mostly favorable in India. Now the most important deciding factor about the flavor and the quality of coffee is the species of the tree from which the coffee is obtained. So here we see the flavor and the quality of coffee is depending upon the species of the trees. So here we can see there are 40 different types of species, but only 3 types are commercially cultivated. So what do you mean by commercially cultivated? So 40 different types of species are cultivated, but mainly 3 types are used for commercial purpose. So the first one is Arabica, next one Robusta, and the third one is Liberica. So we are going to discuss it one by one. The first one, Arabica. This is the finest variety of the coffee for flavor. So it is mainly used for flavor. It has originated from the mocha coffee, and that is the native to the Arabian Peninsula. So here we see that the Arabica type of coffee is mainly originated from the mocha coffee, which is native to the Arabian Peninsula. So where is the Arabian Peninsula? The peninsula that is located between the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf So in between these areas, the peninsula that is called as the Arabian Peninsula, and here the Arabica is the native type of crop. More than 70% of the coffee production in our country is of Arabica type. So in India mainly Arabica is cultivated. This type of crop is most expensive and it is most important in the world trade. So as we see that it is mainly used for commercial purpose, it is most expensive and it is used in the world trade. So the next one is Robusta. This type of coffee is comparatively poor quality and can survive in arid conditions. So what does arid condition means? The condition where the availability of water is less. So that means the lack of availability of water. So in this type of condition the Robusta plant can grow. It is also disease resistant. So what does it means? The disease that are normally a coffee plant can get, but this type of plant can resist the diseases it get. The cost of production is low and the yield per hectare is high. So here we see that the cost of production and the yield per hectare is high. So for that reason it is comparatively cheaper than the Arabica type of coffee. Now the Liberica. So this type is native in the Liberia and suited to the lowland rather than the upland conditions. So here we see this type of crop are mainly grown in the lowland areas, but it is not preferable in the upland conditions. Both Robusta and Liberica are particularly suitable for making an instant coffee. So we know that instant coffee is more important in nowadays, so thus it is gaining importance today and thus gaining importance. Now we are going to discuss about the conditions that are needed for the cultivation of coffee. So first here we see that the coffee is a tropical plant. So we know that tropical plant means the areas from equator to 30 degree. So coffee is a tropical plant, that's why it needed hot and humid type of climate with the temperature of vary between 15 degrees centigrade to 28 degrees centigrade. And so here we see that as it is needed hot and humid type of climate, but the temperature may vary from 15 degrees Celsius to 28 degrees Celsius. So it may vary. It not needed this type of particular type of temperature, but the temperature may vary and which causes the growth of coffee. Now the annual rainfall that should be 150 to 250 centimeter and it should be well distributed. So what does it mean? Well distributed means the rainfall must be happening throughout the year and the rainfall must be 150 centimeter to 250 centimeter. Now the coffee plant cannot tolerate frost, strong sunshine, hot wind. So we know that any type of frost condition can harm any type of crop, and it also does not tolerate the strong sunshine and the hot winds like the tea. Thus it is grown under the shady trees. So it is as same as the tea cultivation. Here also the coffee plants are also grown under the shady trees. After this, the next condition is the stagnant water is harmful, so the coffee is grown on the hilly slope. As in the hilly slope, the water flows down and it does not get stagnant in an area. And the elevation where the coffee is grown is about 800 to 2000 meters. In the northern and the eastern slopes are preferred and they are less exposed to the strong afternoon sun and southwest monsoon wind. So, which type of slope is preferable for the growth of coffee? So, here we see the northern and the eastern slope are preferable for the growth of coffee. And so, why it is preferable? Because it doesn't expose to the strong afternoon sun and also the southwest monsoon wind. Now after this, the next one is The coffee need well drained loamy soil. As we previously know that stagnant water can harm the coffee plant, so that's why it needed well drained type of soil, that is mainly loamy soil, which is rich in humus and minerals. So what does humus means? Humus means the organic components that are formed by the decomposition of the leaves and other plants. Here we see that the red and laterite soil are good for coffee cultivation in India. So in India, the preferable type of soil that is mainly increase the production of coffee in India is red soil and laterite soil. After this, the coffee cultivation needs cheap labor and skilled labor for the various operations. So here we see that the coffee cultivation also done manually. So that's why it needed cheap and skilled labors for the various purposes like sowing, transplanting, pruning, plucking, drying, grading, packing of the coffee in the plant. So these are the steps which are followed to grow the coffee. So in which they are all these processes are done manually. So for that reason the cheap and skilled labors are needed. So here again let us discuss in brief again the conditions for the growth of coffee. So as it is a tropical plant, it need hot and humid type of climate with a temperature of 15 degrees Celsius to 28 degrees Celsius. The annual rainfall should be 150 to 250 centimeter, that should be well distributed, and the coffee plant doesn't tolerate the frost, strong wind, sunshine, hot wind type of condition. So and again the stagnant water is harmful, and the coffees are mainly grown in the elevation of 800 to 2000 meters in the northern and the eastern slope, and the coffee needs well drained loamy type of soil that is rich in humus and mineral. In India, red soil and laterite soil also grow the coffee cultivation. And at last the coffee cultivation needs cheap and skilled laborers for various purpose of including sowing, transplantation, pruning, plucking, drying, grading, packing, etc. Now we are going to discuss about the method of cultivation and processing of tea. Now the life on a coffee plantation is very hectic for everybody throughout the year. So why we can say that the life of the coffee plantation is very hectic? Because there are various steps that must be followed for the processing and the cultivation of the coffee. So now we are going to discuss it, the following process that are involved in the cultivation and harvesting of coffee on the plantation. So first one is, after clearing the land, some shady trees are planted in advance. So we know that the trees takes time to grow at a height which can gives the coffee plants a shade. So that's why the shady trees are planted previously or in advance. The next one is, the coffee seed or the cutting are the first raised in the nursery. So in the method we know that coffee plantation is first done in the nursery. After 6 to 12 months the seedlings are transplanted about 3 meters apart in the main field. So with the 3 meters of gap, the each of the plant are transplanted in the main field. This planting time is mainly during the rainy season. So here we see that the coffee prefers high rainfall. So for that reason this type of transplantation is mainly done in the rainy season. Now, the coffee tree may grow up to a height of about 8 meters. So, it can grow 8 meters, and in the case of tea, we see that the tea plant is mainly grown to a 10 meters of height. So, in the coffee height, the coffee trees may grow to the height of 8 meters, but the tree are pruned. So what is the cause of the pruning of the coffee tree? It is easier to pick berries by hand from a smaller tree. So As it is easier to pick berries from the smaller tree, it is pruned to a height of 2.5 meters. Now, after this, the coffee trees start bearing fruit from 5 years and they yield coffee berries for next 30 years. So, once the tree is planted, after 5 years, it can yield coffee berries to next 30 years. One tree can yield about 2 kgs of berries in a year. So, here we can see that one plant of coffee can yield or produce 2 kgs of coffee per year. The coffee is normally harvested in the cool and dry season. So, the harvesting time is mainly during the cool and the dry season time. The picking is mostly done by hand. So, as we know that all the process are mainly done manually. So, for that reason, the picking is also done by hand and it is mainly in the cold and dry season. The leaves and the twigs are separated from the berries by tossing them high up in the air. Each coffee berries has 2 beans inside and it is surrounded by the soft pulp. After removing the outer covering, the beans are kept in the tank to ferment. So, what does the process of ferment? Ferment means the fermentation. That means the chemical breakdown of the substance that is mainly given by heat, or it also can be done by bacteria or yeast, but here it is mainly done by heat. Now, then the berries are washed and dried. So here we see after fermentation the the beans are mainly washed and dried. The dried beans are made to pass through a machine. So here we see that after the fermentation process it is washed and dried, and after this it is passes through a machine which it removes the husk that is present in the coffee beans. The beans are now sorted and packed according to the shape and size and quality. So, and the last one is the beans are roasted by the importing countries. So, the countries which are imported this type of beans, they roasted the beans before taking it. Now again here just discuss in brief about the processing process of the coffee. So firstly we can see here that it is mainly harvested in the cool and dry season. Then it is the twigs and the leaves are separated. After this the pulp is removed. The soft pulp that is surrounded the berry is removed, and then it is get to the tank of fermentation, where after the process of fermentation it is washed and dried. Then the dried beans are moved to a machine where the removal of husk is done. After that the beans are sorted and packed according to the shape, size and quality, and then last one it is roasted by the importing countries. So here are the steps that are followed for the processing of the coffee. So now we are going to discuss about the production of coffee in India. In the production of coffee, we see that Brazil, Colombia and Indonesia are far superior than India. India is not important producer of coffee in the world, whereas the annual coffee production of India is about 3 lakh tons, which is about 3.5% of the world total population of the world total production. At present, India is the 7th largest producer of the coffee, and before India there are Brazil, Vietnam, Colombia, Indonesia, Ethiopia and Mexico. And we know that in Ethiopia is the native area of coffee production. So, here we see that India ranks 7th in the producing of coffee. So, we are going to the next page. The two main varieties of coffee that are grown in India is Arabica and Robusta. Almost the entire production of the coffee comes from the three states of India. So as we know that coffee production is mainly popular in South India. The three states of South India are Karnataka, which have 73% of production, Kerala have 20% of production, and Tamil Nadu have only 5% of production. The other coffee producing states are Andhra Pradesh, Orissa. So these are also the states where small amount of coffee production takes place. Now the areas of coffee production that are mainly the most of the coffee plantation in India are confined to the South India, comprising the hills area like Nilgiri. So around the hilly areas, that is Nilgiri, that is in South India, the coffee plantation are confined there, and the area under the coffee cultivation has increased from 1 lakh hectare in 1970 to 71 to 4 lakh hectare in 2013 to 14. Almost the entire area is shared between Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu, and during 2013 to 14 it is the percentage are Karnataka 59%, Kerala 22% and Tamil Nadu 8%. So we are going to discuss the states one by one. So here we see first one is Karnataka, and it is the largest producer of coffee in India. The highest yield of coffee, that is 960 kgs per hectare, is recorded in this state. So the Kodagu, Chikmagaluru account for about 80% of the Karnataka's total production. So these are the two areas where the main production of the Karnataka takes place. Other coffee producing districts are Shivamogga, Hassan, Mysuru. So these are the other districts that are found in Karnataka where the production of coffee takes place. Now the Kerala. Kerala is the second largest producer of coffee in India and the main producing district of Kochikode, Wanad, Mallapuram, Kollam, Kannur, Palakkad. The yield per hectare is only 760 kg. So here the production is mainly 760 kg per hectare. The Robusta is the main variety of coffee grown in Kerala. So as we know that Robusta is comparatively poor quality than the Arabica type of coffee, and here in Kerala the Robusta type of coffee is mainly grown. Now in Tamil Nadu is the third largest producer of coffee in India, and the main producing districts are Nilgiri, Madurai, Tirunelveli, Salem, Coimbatore. About half of the state's total production come from Nilgiri district alone, and some coffee is also grown in Andhra Pradesh, Odisha, Maharashtra and northeastern states. Now we are going to discuss about the trade condition of the coffee. So here we see that mainly the two coffee types, that are Arabica and the Robusta, are the varieties of coffees that are produced in India and have made a place for themselves in the international market also. They are in great demand for the good blending quality. So here we see that the Arabica and the Robusta have a good blending quality. So for that reason there is a high demand in the international market. The exporters about 2/3 of its production. So India can export 2/3 of its production to the countries like UK, USA, Russia, Australia, Iraq and a number of European countries. So these are the exporters of coffee from India. So here we covered the chapter 17, and that's all for today. Thank you.